Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations, all my people out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of being the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. Welcome to this Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, the 22nd day of Women's History Month and the American Diabetes Association Alert Day. Diabetes is a real big deal in the African American community. Every year, it is one of the leading causes of death and disability for many African Americans. So if you don't know what your status is, ask your family members about your family history around diabetes. Also, while you're at it, throw in heart disease and high cholesterol. But ask these questions so that you can take the opportunity to get to know your status, to find out what you can do to either prevent or treat the disease. It's okay. A lot of us have it, like me. As always, want to give a big shout out to the super producer, Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan, holding me down and making sure that we have the resources to bring you the type of show that you deserve. Also want to say a big shout out to our assistant producer, Miss Brandy Raymar, also a great addition to the team. And we've been having a great time really trying to plan out what the world is going to look like for our audience in the future. I am very excited for what we have in store for you. Today we have a really special show. It's sponsored by Breadcoin. It is part of our month of Black women. And we got some really positive feedback about the last show we did where we pulled a bunch of different clips from a couple different shows. You all said you liked it, so guess what? We're going to give it to you again. But first, let me tell you a little bit about what the month of Black women is. Dear Shanae and Simone, as you move through life as Black women, you will have a very unique experience. In many cases, you will be asked or expected to serve in roles that weren't clearly explained, nor did you really agree to. Over the course of my life, I have met some amazing women who have navigated some of the spaces that you will encounter. I want my village to share with you their stories of trials and successes to help provide a foundation to understand your power to choose the woman that you will become and the strength that you can find in your sisters. This series of shows is my gift to you. The women you will hear from are phenomenal. They come from different backgrounds and have chosen different paths for their lives. Each represents a facet of the Black woman experience. Some of the stories may not align with your journey directly, but those stories are even more important. By listening closely, you can learn about uncommon experiences and find ways to support your sisters along your shared journey. I love you all so much, and I hope to see you soon. Go for it.
Briefly, I am a nurse educator and an owner of an independent lab. I am a mother of 4, 3 girls and 1 boy, and I'm excited to be here today.
Yay! Describe to us what it's like to be a Black woman. What would you tell the aliens?
That being a Black woman can be very challenging. You have to be strong. Just from the beginning, if you're fortunate enough to have at least one of your parents, sometimes that's not the best, but you have to make the best out of every situation that you find yourself in. And that will continue throughout life. It doesn't just begin there, but from the moment that you're born, you're almost attacked, and you're attacked against the world because you were born black.
And one of the things that I have, whoops, I pressed the wrong button. You know, when you start pressing the wrong button, stuff goes all over the place. But so one of the things that I want to break it up into two separate pieces, because there is this piece of being attacked, and that has a lot to do with how Black women are perceived, and I want to talk about that in some more detail. But I want to start off with like the obligations that you feel as a Black woman. One of the things that a lot of the guests have said is that there are times where who else is going to do it? Like, I gotta make a way. I don't have anybody to rely on, and those types of things. Is that part of your experience as well, or?
I would concur, because I mean, from the beginning, like I said, you're attacked, and even as a small child, you know, because your mother is mostly either a Black woman or you are of African American descent, then you have responsibilities. And if you're the oldest, like I'm the oldest, so I had to do so many things. I had to wear so many hats. So even today, my two brothers on my mother's side that are under me, because I'm the oldest, they still look at me as a mother figure. Like I could still get them to do things that my mother could not get them to do. You know, they're still
because of the way you were involved in their raising.
I pretty much raised them. I mean, you know, because my mother had to go out and take care of the family the best way that she could. You know, I had to correct them. I had to cook. So I had to learn to become the best chef with nothing. Because growing up in the hood, you don't always get the good. Now, back in my day, you know, we had the cheese off the government.
And it takes you 20 minutes to melt it, but once it did melt, boy, you eat it while it's hot.
And then there were the times where the government truck didn't come and you had beans and you were left with different things. So you had to become a chef. I mean, you had to be creative, which is partially why I enjoy cooking today. It's therapeutic, but I love to feed people. So I had to find, you know, different ingredients, whatever was in the house, and make them taste good. Because you have, you know, boys, my brothers, I had to feed them. So in order for them to eat it, it had to taste good. So I had to be innovative.
So what age range are we talking about now? Are we talking about like 20s, late teens? No. What are we talking about?
No, I would say at 3, I started helping my mother to change diapers, because she would say, bring me the diaper. I can remember, or she would tell me. And then because my brother was born around that time. So it starts as soon as the other child comes in. Go get me that diaper. Go put this in the trash.
So you moved from being a child to being a helpmate.
Pretty much. And I felt like I can't say so many things, but the person that she had the baby with, which was her husband at the time, you know, he should have been helping her. That wasn't my responsibility. And as I got older, you know, I never complained about the things I had to do, but as I got older, I had my own personal experiences. I felt like, can I talk about it a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let me be clear. Whatever you are comfortable talking about here is fine to talk.
You know, it started there, and it helped me. It helped me to become the woman that I am, because that is my foundation of not having anything, having to make provisions when there were none. You know, my religion and my faith, you know, we were started up young. So all of that helped me when I became a woman, a grown woman, as these young people say. 18 is not grown, but I was out of my mother's house by the time I was 16, because my mother had some issues and I had to go. So I was on my own. I was homeless my last 2 years of high school. I went to Mervo, went to Carver for 1 year. I went to Mervo for 3 years.
Big up to Mervo.
And, you know, I really struggled. It was hard. They didn't have all the programs and things that they have now in the school systems, which are amazing. They didn't have those. So I was the person that everybody, you know, teased about the way that I dressed, because I didn't have. I worked 3 jobs when I was 14. As soon as they gave us opportunities, I raised my age. I worked 2 jobs, not 3. I'm sorry. And I raised my age, and I had the job with Clarence DuBurns. And that's when the summer programs first came out. Now I'm dating myself. And then I had a job at McDonald's, and that money I didn't get. I had to give that money to my mother, and my mother would give me money to get back on the bus to go back to work. So I wasn't taught that, hey, you need to save your money. You don't need to spend your money. This is what you should do. This is how you budget. None of that was brought up. You know, but all I know is every month at the end of the month, which I still don't understand, people get these food stamps, which I wish I could get, you know, and they buy everything at one time instead of teaching themselves or even their children that we only need this right now. This is all that our refrigerator can hold, and we can go back to the store another time. So that was my foundation, and going to church. We were in church all the time, and that helped me. That helped me so much. It even helps me to this day. My prayer life is amazing. But as I got older, I got married. I was married twice. I got divorced twice. But I had some things to happen. You don't expect to marry, the wrong person. Listening to influences of people who don't know what's going on, listening to the church. And I'm not dissing the church because I'm all about church, but I'm just being honest and real, because I'm not going to tell somebody to go marry somebody because that's something they want to do. I'm going to really have a conversation about, let's see if you're compatible. Is this really going to work out? Is this person going to be abusive? Are they going to hit you? Because I have a no nonsense policy. So because I had that policy, and because I had been abused as a child, really like physically, mentally, and everything, I was already in a broken situation. My father wasn't there for me. Like some people have a godfather, father. I never had that. I didn't have a good example of the father. I know who my father is, but we never had a real good relationship. Even to this day, we just don't. So, long story short, I went through these divorces, and my first ex-husband I had 2 children with, and my second one I had 2 children with. And I found myself in a situation after the second divorce. The second divorce, I had 4 children. Here I was, a well-educated individual who was not a promiscuous girl. I was known as a church girl. I mean, the good church girls, not, and I was known in the community as being a decent person. And it bothered me that I had to have 2 divorces, because no one sets themselves up for divorces. But it also bothered me that I had to now have the responsibility of 4 small children, and I had to figure it all out by myself.
Talk about the relationship. And again, whatever you're comfortable with, was there no support from the ex-husbands, or was it just not enough support? Why were you by yourself doing this?
Initially, I think a lot of, now we're getting on some other stuff, but I think
this is about what it is to be a Black woman.
A lot of men need to understand that just because you're not with the woman, or you can't deal with the woman or whatever, ignore her. It's about the child. So you need to find your way to your child, establish that relationship. If you can't speak with the mother, that's fine. Once they get a certain age, then deal with the child directly. But of course, respect the mother. Ask your mother, can I come get you? Stuff like that. Ask your mother, can you have this? I didn't have that. My first ex-husband, he paid minimal child support, but everything was on me. When it came down to paying $10,000 for 2 sets of braces at the same time, that was me. When it came down to prom dresses, that was me. When it came down to any extracurricular activities, that was me. So I think that a lot of fathers need to forget about, parents need to understand that when they get into these agreements, because that's what it is, if the agreement does not work out, that this child has absolutely nothing to do with it. Now, I've made my wrongs, because initially I wanted to just be by myself and I'm done. I don't want you calling. I don't want, but now that I'm older, I can preach this part, that you really need to try to find a way, even if it's not through you, your sister, your cousin, your friend, your sister friend, get somebody to let this person, be involved in the child's life. But it also takes a real man to want to do that. My second husband was just a joke. Like, he's more educated than my first husband, and he does nothing even to this day. I have a 14-year-old son. He does absolutely nothing. He pays minimal child support when he feels like paying, child support. And I had to do everything. My son was sick. He had asthma. It was just a lot I had to do. I was working so many jobs because I was never on welfare, and that was God. We always owned our own house, and that was God again. It was just a lot of things. And so my oldest daughter had a lot of pressure on her. Not that I wanted her to have that pressure. There were things I wanted her to be able to do, but I couldn't. I couldn't let them be in extracurricular activities. Why? Because I had to go to work. I went to work, came in, went to sleep, changed my clothes. Everybody knew what it was. Every Sunday, I cooked all the meals for the entire week, because I'm a person that I want my kids to be fed. I love feeding people. And I still do that to this day. It was always meal prep for me. It was always iron up all the uniforms, for everybody, so that my kids didn't have that to worry about. So I slept all day. It was just hard.
Right. And what you're talking about, the engagement with them about the kids.
Right. So I wish that I was mature enough to say the things that I'm about to say. It's not about me. even though my personal feelings was like, okay, well, you know, my first husband was my first, and here you left me. I have 2 kids, you know, and you acting up. And then the second one was, well, the second one was a situation I really couldn't control because he was then told he couldn't be around us. So because he kidnapped my kids, so he wasn't able to initially be around. But once the time came, he would tell everybody, I'm trying to see my kids, and it was not true. What I wish I had done
He was still
for the child that he had during our marriage, which he claims is a mistake and he forgot, or, you know, whatever. And he does nothing for my son now. Nothing. He doesn't know my son's allergies. He doesn't know what medications he takes. He can't tell you about my son's grades. He doesn't know what school my son goes to. Nothing. And I think that we fail our children on so many, you know, from so many angles, because, you know, girls need their fathers. Even though my father was a substance abuser and still is to this day, you know, it was something that my father told me that kept me a decent woman. I didn't go out there and sleep with everybody because my father told me some things. Girls will listen to their dads. It's a reason that there's a male component. It's a reason why a father is supposed to be a father. There's a reason why your voice is so deep, because children will listen to a father on one command. The women, we got to go off.
Yeah.
We got to scream. We got to cuss you out. Almost have a nervous breakdown in the middle of the floor. Rough you up a little bit. Cave you in your chest. Call your girlfriend and talk about you right in your face. Tell you you're getting out. We got to do all of that. You know, this is the life of a Black woman, you know, and it's difficult. It's challenging. So I wish that, one, I did that I had planned who I was going to be with, that I had really knew how to screen. I wish if I could change my life, that I had a better father who could have taught me and demonstrated what a real man was supposed to be and how a real man was supposed to treat me, because then I would have knew what to look for.
So let's continue from that vein. So you recognize that the lack of the male role model was a deficiency in your life, right?
Absolutely. It still is.
And so because your children's fathers are deficient in that role, have you been able to find some programs or some people to come and try to fill in that role for your kids? Or are you still left to try to fill in that role by yourself?
I'm still wearing all the hats and all the shoes and all the pants. And then, you know, Black women that say, oh, you too aggressive, you too strong, you don't want. It's not that. We don't all want to be like this. I don't. So for the people that was in church, some of this, me and Jesus alone, honey, it was never me. The ones that say, I can make it without a man, it wasn't me. Okay.
That's not your ministry.
That is not my ministry. I am not singing that song. But what I will tell you is, the mother that I am, I'm very protective, you know, and I'm very particular about who my children are around. I could have been married a third time, but I chose not to bring people around my kids. I isolated myself. You know, I neglected myself to make sure that my 4 children were good. So I didn't have time for no play. Let's go this, do. I didn't have time for that, because my goal was my kids need to eat. That means I have to work, because I'm not getting child support, or I'm getting minimal or none. Because at times when they lose their jobs, you don't keep getting child support. When my first husband decided he was quitting his job because he was called something on the job and he didn't like it, we didn't get child support, you know. Or if when they got mad at me, you know, because back then I couldn't control my mouth. I wanted to say what I wanted.
You were slick with the lip. You were slick with the lip.
I could murder you with this tongue. You understand? I still can. But at this point, you know, God's grace is sufficient, and I'm a little more mature now. And I realize I know other ways to deal with things without saying a word. Silence is golden for Black women. If we get quiet, that's when men listen. And so it's things that I wish I knew then. But again, yes, the absence of my father, I can't blame my father for my life, but I can blame him for not being there to do what he needed to do to help me. Because I would have known that these were not the guys I should have gotten involved with. I know now. But this is after life's lessons, after I've had to struggle to make the weave and pay for the weave to be made. $600, $800 easy. No thought, no think about it. Don't need a payment plan. Found the money. Comes down to purchasing from a business or supporting another Black-owned business. Oh, I know you. Can I get a discount? Oh, can I? It's always something. It's always something. And that's just how it is. I've even had a recent experience where, and I won't name the business because I don't want to be sued, but I had a Black man to patronize my establishment. We did 3 of his assisted livings, 3 with at least 30 people in each facility. So that's 90 people.
Right.
And he did a chargeback. Now he won the chargeback. Oh, wait, it gets better. I served him.
Explain to people what the chargeback is. I'm sorry. I know I like, whoa.
A chargeback means you use your credit card, and then after you get whatever, you tell the credit card company, I didn't get the service, or this wasn't good, or whatever. Mind you, we're talking about COVID testing here. So he got the results for all of them, and we did his staff for free. So hold on. That was another Black business that did that to me. Now, I wasn't too happy about it, but I swallowed it. But then I thought about it. Hold on. I went to school to be a nurse. I'm a mother. I took time out of my schedule. And I'm a real business. This is a real lab. My documents are registered with the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
You know what I did? I didn't call a lawyer. Didn't call you Hannah Blue. I filed papers at the district court. And once I did that, guess what he did? The same day he was served, he reversed the charge. But then guess what? I told him we're still going to court. He said, why? We have fees, sir. I need a late fee. I paid somebody to go to the court. I paid somebody to serve you. I need my money. And here's the interest, and here's what it is. Now, he's paid the original fee, and I'm still waiting. I even gave him time. This was in January. I gave him to March the 15th to pay. He still hasn't paid.
Yeah. Somebody like that, it sounds like he'll be waiting to the last minute.
We paid the original. That's fine. If not, I'm ready. I got all my papers.
But I think that's kind of the thing. Like, even how he thought to correct it, devalued you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
like I'm literally going to steal from you.
Major companies do the same thing. Major companies.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, because we get to talk about things here. Government agencies do the same thing. If we're gonna talk about something for real.
Well, let me tell you, I had a major agency. I ordered $3,500 worth of things, which I mean that may not be a lot to those of us who just pay things, but for a business expense, a small business, that's like, okay, that's big, you know.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
So I made the purchase, and so I'm waiting for the items, and then I get an email that, okay, well, one is on the way and one is on hold because we don't have your documentation that you're a lab. We can't find you on a map. I had this in an email. I lost it. I wasn't professional that day. And that order was canceled, and I wanted all my money back. And I will no longer patronize that establishment because and there was a whole miscommunication between the person who said he worked there for 30 years. And just because you work somewhere 30 years doesn't make you right. It doesn't make you the manager either, you know, nor the owner of the company. But I was insulted, and I let them know as a Black woman, I am insulted that you would tell me that, you know, I don't have the right credentials and you couldn't find my business address on the map. But you used my business address when I made that purchase with my credit card. It was the same address. It was the same address the first machine arrived at, and I had already had the machine. So that tells you it's a bona fide
address. Or was it just no matter what it was no good?
I think it was because I was a small business and they hadn't heard about me before. I've even had people to call me and say, I haven't heard about you before. Oh, I didn't know this was here. When we did the COVID testing and we had so many people coming, I didn't know this was here. So I think a lot of Black businesses are at a disadvantage, which I told you I'm going to start this women's group. Yes. And I want to add men because I'm not biased, you know. I think we need the male component, you know, because we're not recognized. People don't know what we have. You're sitting in a room with a powerhouse person that can help move your business and you don't even realize it. Yes, it's all about networking. But at what point are we going to come together? At what point are we going to stop being crabs? When are we going to come together and look out for each other? Because if we as a Black community don't look out for each other and we don't support each other, meaning you can spend $800 in Sally's shop or Karen's shop. Why can't you spend $800 in Jennifer's shop? Well, maybe not Jennifer, but in Keisha's shop.
Well, watch this though, because one of the things that you had to be on public assistance. And so I just want to try to get to understand how you view those things from the paradigm of a Black woman, single, managing all of this stuff. How do you see the need for public assistance or things like that?
I think that some people need public assistance. I'm not going to say, but when you become dependent upon it, where someone has to tell you this is how much you're going to get every month, and this is how much you can spend, and this is how much you can spend to live, and this is what you get to eat, that is a problem. For me, what I've also found is that this is just my opinion. I'm not shooting, you know, darts at anybody, but I've gone to the child support office to ask for increases, to find out what else I could do to help my children, because I am working 3 jobs, and, you know, people have time to do other things, but they don't have time to help me, you know, finance these children. And I didn't make them by myself. And I have left each time crying. I was treated as if I was a welfare recipient lying on my back all day, although I was in nursing scrubs and I had worked 2 jobs. I had just worked 20 hours and I still was not given the respect. I was told my application was lost. I was told that I needed to leave, you know, and this was by a person that wasn't even from the United States. She could barely speak English. And she's telling me, a taxpayer, that I need to leave and I'm gonna have to come back because I came at the last minute. Well, ma'am, I left work as soon as I could. You guys close at 4. I get off work at 3. Nurses don't have real times to get off. I rushed out of the door. I gave report, but I was out. My colleagues understood, you know, that I don't usually do that, but I rushed to get to your office before you close, and I was treated so bad that day. And so now it's like I don't go there. I have to pay. This is money I could use for to help my son. I am currently paying an attorney to deal with what I should have been able to walk into the office to deal with. But there again, if you are a real man, no system should have to tell you to take care of your child. No system should tell you that you have a 14-year-old that eats like 4 grown men. So no system would be able to tell me as a mother, if I didn't raise my children and I was the parent on the opposite end, it would never have to be communicated. It's prom time, it's school time, it's winter time, it's fall time. Yeah, but every time I wouldn't have to do that. I would know.
But one of the things that you have shared throughout your journey is that you literally have never had a portion of your life where you haven't been responsible, right? So let me tell you what it means. So that's what I'm trying to find out.
Being a Black woman, it's difficult. You have so-called friends or other females that you know that you may not categorize as a friend. They'll tear you down verbally. Some of them are bold enough to try to say it to you. Sometimes when you're in relationships or friendships or dating, you know, the guys may take you as the aggressor or the person that's trying to be an alpha female, which I am an alpha female, but I will back down to a king. That's how I'll say that. And it's not by choice, it's by force, because I've had to do everything. So a lot of times we have a lot of things outside that does affect us inside. Like I said, you have people who don't understand. Oh, you're doing too much. Oh, you was doing that. Why aren't you doing that? You know, or I think your price. I've had a person to inbox me about a class and then tell me that my class costs too much. And there's Walmart. There's Nordstrom's. Honey, I'm Nordstrom's, because your class may be taught by someone that, and I'm not knocking anybody, that's a phlebotomist that has worked as a phlebotomist for 2 years and now she's a phlebotomist. I'm proud of her. I'm happy for her. I encourage her, right? But I'm a whole nurse, as they would say, you know, with some other degrees and some teaching experience, and I'm a certified teacher. So I deserve to be paid for what I do. And you don't know what the design of my class is, the hours I put into my class. I have people who try to be close to me to get information from me so that they can go. So I've had 2 people to do that. They'll ask me, oh, who are you certified by? Oh, could you help? And before I know it, I turn around. And I'm not saying it's not enough money for all of us, but be honest with your intention. Tell me you want to open, and I may be able to help you. I'm not saying I can always, but I may be able to direct you. But don't come and just try to take food out of my mouth, and I didn't even know you took my fork, and I'm looking for it. Or you tried to take my
talk about them.
They give me, you know, advice. I can't tell you how in depth I am to you for sometimes when I'm like, this is what's going on. You're like, well, legally. I'm like, yes, this is the part I need to hit. Well, if you get this, go get your money, you know. and when I come up with some crazy ideas, you've never said, you know, that sounds crazy. And I probably did sound crazy. You supported me in my craziness, right? But at the end of the day, when I came back to retract that crazy statement and say, you know what? That wasn't the best idea. Like, well, you know what? You learned from that experience. Now, what are you going to do? Right. And I did. And it helped me because, you know, the restaurant idea, I'm telling you, I know I can cook. I enjoy cooking. And people know I can cook. But where I went wasn't the best location. So
that's a lesson.
Yeah, I'd have probably still been doing it. So you know, but I had to also hone into me, find myself. And so you helped me, walk me through that, gave me opportunities, encouraged my growth, even with school, furthering my education. And so like my son, he stops me from hurting my daughters. He's like the peacemaker, like, Mom, it's not worth it. But he's the reason I push so hard. He's the reason I'm still trying to get, because, I'm determined that when it's his time for college, I'm praying that he'll be a football player that he's always wanted to be. I mean, since he was a little boy, but that he'll get that scholarship, but I want to be able to say, hey, look, I done bought this, I did that. And I've bought my children cars. I've done it by the grace of God, no goodness of my own. It's so many people that are positive in my life. My girlfriend Charmel, oh my God, she's like my rock. And I know she probably like, this chick is crazy, because I be talking some mess. You hear me? But she's the logic and the voice, because she'll be like, you know what? That's not good for you. And he said he do. Oh, I don't see it. And sometimes you need that. You need that. And even in business, she'll be like, well, your business side is going to say, go get that money. No, you're going to write them back and tell them you want to add on, so she's also that voice. And I appreciate her for all of that, because she's so, supportive in everything. She can see where she came up with a cohort for me, and she was like, a good idea would be to blah, blah, blah. And it's awesome. Dr. Lee, he has a business. He does other things. We're very, very close. He's very supportive in everything that I do as well. Education, all of that. He's there. We're real close. But, I have some really good people in my life. I keep my circle small. Not that I think I'm better than other people, but I've heard this before, and I'll repeat it. If you want to go somewhere, you have to start surrounding yourself around people that are either like-minded or...
Lindsay Appeal. Lindsay, how are you? Welcome to the program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much again, William, for having me. It is always, always, always such a pleasure to connect.
Good business. I know we talked a little bit before the show about kind of your experiences as a Black woman. And Lindsay, what is it like to be a Black woman? Describe it for us so we can use so we can add it to our archives. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Peel. I am the founder and principal consultant at Kingdom Vision Consulting. We are a financial services firm that specializes in CEO financial planning for entrepreneurs of color. And we do so by focusing on 5 key areas of finance known as class, creditworthiness, long-term wealth, asset protection, strategic banking relationships, and strategic asset accumulation. I am also the host of the Real Deal Radio Show, where we provide resources, empathy, accountability, and literacy to improve the overall wealth journey for the Black entrepreneur. We meet you at the intersection of faith, family, and finance.
Who you are. Describe to the aliens what it's like to be a Black woman.
So first of all, you said something that really struck a thought, right? You said that we have to shine a light on Black women, especially as we step into these spaces. How I was very bold in introducing myself, showing up very confidently as who I am. And a lot of times as a Black woman, society tries to silence us. Corporate America tries to silence us, communities, politicians, but also our families, right? Men, right?
Ooh, this is why I love talking to you.
Listen.
Come on, talk about it. Because this is what I want them to know. Tell them about it.
It's the whole thing, right? And as a Black woman, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I pride myself on showing up as my authentic self in spaces, because it's so important. Because there are so many Black women who are out there showing up in spaces and they are not their authentic selves. They are robots. They have assimilated themselves to the environment that they are in to please everyone else around them. And as I have been evolving as a Black woman, but specifically a Black queer woman, right, in a space that is typically occupied by a lot of white males in the financial services industry, it's very important that I am confident in who I am so that I can show up as my full self, as this beautiful Black queen with locks who loves myself, but also loves fighting for my people. And I enjoy being able to introduce myself, but also my company, to say that we serve entrepreneurs of color, but really Black folks, right? Let's be real. And when you think about what is it like to be a Black woman, we are pillars in our communities. We are pillars in our families, right? Wherever we go, Black women are seen as being strong, dependable, right? They are seen to truly impact and affect real change, especially the Black women that I try to assimilate myself with. Because listen, it can go a few ways. Being a Black woman, to me, it encompasses being a very multifaceted human being, right? A lot of times people will try to limit us and put us in a box of what's comfortable for them, what has been the norm in society, what is the safest for your family, what's not going to embarrass X, Y, Z, right? Those are all limitations that have been placed on us based on other people's experiences, based on other people's discomfort, right? But as a Black woman, being able to show up as myself is dope. Being a Black woman is dope. I saw a post earlier and it mentioned March being Women's History Month. And as a Black woman, we get to be celebrated twice, right? We're just coming out of Black History Month and heading right into Women's History Month. And it is amazing for me to show up as myself, as this Black woman who is very intentional about making change in my communities. It's a lot. To be honest, it takes a lot of self-work. It takes you doing that reflective work to understand who you are, to be comfortable with who you are, and then being able to show up as who you are, because all of them are different things, right? All of us as Black women, some of us are still struggling with our identities, right? And I'm not even going to tap into, like, when we talk about having, sexualities that identify with the LGBT community plus, right? As well as being a Black woman, because that's a whole different challenge on its own, right?
I'm sorry, we got time. You could talk about it if you want.
Time, right? Listen, like it's a whole nother thing. And for me, it took therapy to get here. There was a point in time where I was not okay with myself, where I started my therapy journey a few years ago because I was having identity issues, because I wasn't who my parents wanted and needed me to be, or more so my sexuality, right? But also showing up as a Black woman in the banking space, or when I was in the retail banking world and trying to climb the corporate ladder, also being in a space where I was in school, I was pursuing my MBA while struggling with so many other personal things. I needed therapy. I realized that I cannot do this alone. Like, this is not a journey that I can embark on alone. And for me, it was the best thing of my life, because she was able to really hold a mirror to my face to show me who I was, but also to show me that, Lindsay, you are perfect as you are, for who you are. And it's important for you to show up as your real self, because there's somebody else out there that's potentially watching you who needs to see you show up as who you are so that they can be comfortable. And when I walk into spaces and I see so many other Black women shrinking, right? They play small for everyone else. Sometimes they're playing small because of their husband. Sometimes they're playing small because of their family dynamic. And a lot of times they're playing small because of their job, right? And because of the possibilities that they want to be available to them when they're climbing the corporate ladder. And they don't want to be considered as being too much, as being that angry Black woman if they are a little bit more opinionated or know how to speak up for themselves. So when I see that, right, it encourages and motivates me even more to continue to show up as who I am. But I didn't get here alone. It was definitely therapy, for sure.
Get your help. What is the dude's name? Get yourself, or what you call it? Because I got opinions on that. We're not gonna do that. But making sure that you are being authentically you. You know what I mean? And no matter what other people want you to be. And how did you, I know you said therapy was a help, but there was something that got you to go in the first place. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who get caught up in the whole, I can't be who I am, for whatever that is. What was it?
A part of it for me was understanding the change that I wanted to create, understanding the impact that I wanted to have on this world. And once I decided that I was truly committing my life to serving the Black community and specifically the small business community and making sure that our business owners had a chance, I realized that, Lindsay, you need a voice. Lindsay, people need to hear you. Lindsay, you have to put yourself out there. But again, when you're struggling with your identity, when you're struggling with confidence, you don't feel like you are able, you don't feel like you are worthy of having a platform or being on someone else's platform. But I have a lot to share. I have so much to give, and I have done so over the last few years. And in order for me to continue making that impact, I have to show up as me. Because also, in our community, we struggle with trust, right? Especially when it comes to the financial services space, right? We don't trust banks. We don't trust a lot of the people that we meet within the financial sector. So if I want to truly create that impact within my communities, my people have to trust me. They can't trust me if I'm not showing up as myself, because people can feel whether or not you are authentic. Okay, it's a real thing. And once it took me also, to be honest, it took me hearing words of affirmation from clients and from people who are around me to affirm me, right? Because yes, we can do a lot of work on our own. Yes, we can go to therapy and get that work, but we also need to be affirmed by the people that we are around. And I also appreciated having a tribe of Black women who loved me for who I was, for exactly who I showed up as. They loved me, they loved on me, and they showed me that, Lindsay, you have so much to offer this world, but I can only do that as my authentic self as Lindsay.
So how is it that you balance this idea of being the authentic Lindsay with this role that everybody wants you to have as the comfort woman, as the, you should be small because when you're too big, you make me feel uncomfortable. Like, you should make enough money, but not make me feel bad about how much money you make. You should have kids and raise them like you don't have a job, but you better be Black excellence all the time. Like, and your voice needs to only be used when it doesn't make other people uncomfortable. Okay, can you do that? Just real quick. I mean, I don't think it's too much. It's just be a little less. Like, you wouldn't even need to be all extra. Like, just relax a little bit. How do you deal with that? You make me uncomfortable.
Honestly, I had to get to a point where I didn't care. I don't care if I make you uncomfortable. I don't care if you need me to be XYZ to make you feel good. And once I stopped caring about what other people had to say or how they felt, I was able to start understanding that, Lindsay, you can't take it personal. That's them struggling with something that has nothing to do with you. You are kind of here, right? And potentially you are in a space where this person feels like they can dictate who you can and cannot be for their comfort. Nah. And it used to matter to me. I'll be honest. It definitely used to matter, especially when I was younger in my career. I was, growing within the retail banking ladder. And then one day I started surrounding myself. And once I transitioned from DC to Baltimore, also Black folk in DC, a little bit different than Black people in Baltimore, right?
Yeah,
we're not even going to dig into that. However,
that's a different show. That's a whole another
show. But once I got to Baltimore, I was like, oh, these are my people. Y'all are comfortable with who y'all are. Y'all aren't fighting for Capitol Hill. Got it.
We actually care about the community because the community is us.
the community is us. And once I got to Baltimore, once I started hanging around women such as like the Women Entrepreneur Leadership Lab, founded by, Nakia Drummond. Like once I started surrounding
big
myself,
up to Nakia, big
ups to Nakia, absolutely. Once I started surrounding myself like with women such as Nakia, when I saw people like Monica Mitchell, serving in spaces in roles that you don't see a lot of us in. Listen, I learned that I can do anything, and I can definitely do anything when you have the right people on your team and who supports you. And having women like that who encouraged me to be myself, who encouraged me to grow and evolve into the woman that I am today, it gave me permission. So the permission I needed was from other Black women who looked like me. So I've always been that person that did not mind asking for help, support. Like I did not mind. So I come from a very, very small town, very marginalized community where you have very limited resources, very limited access. So you had to be very intentional if you planned on making it out. Let's be honest, right? So I had mentors even in high school. I was a part of programs where I had Black women who poured into me to make sure that I would make it out. I remember being in 8th grade, right? I was reading the morning announcements for school, but that was because another Black woman said, "Hey, I see talent in you. Like you have a gift for speaking. Let's try this out." And here I am today, right, on a platform hosting a radio show. My degree is in broadcast journalism. That came from Black women seeing something in me, pouring into me. I attribute my willingness to knock on that door to ask for mentorship to my community, because if you were not willing to ask for help, you didn't receive it. Let's be honest. But
they say closed mouth don't get fed.
Correct. But also I have to shout out Miss Brittany Knight, who was my first branch manager when I started in the banking industry. And she was amazing. Our entire team at the Shaw Howard location at the time, that branch of Wells Fargo, right down the street from Howard University, my entire team was POC, people of color. So it was ran by our top management were Black women, business specialists, Black women, right? Black women, in the office. And just to see those Black women show up the way they did every day, this team, this top performing team, I also saw early on in my career that it was possible. But also those Black women, they showed me the ropes. They would literally sit with me and tell me who I need to know, who was in this segment of the bank, who, like, literally they gave me the ropes. And that in itself was monumental for me. Like that gave me the confidence as this part-time. Mind you, I met Monica Mitchell when I was a part-time teller.
Wow.
I was a part-time teller, still in undergrad at the time. And I remember I don't remember how, I think an at work program manager gave me her information, and I picked up the phone and called this lady. I sure did. I spoke to her. I heard about the role that she was in. I let her know that I was interested in her mentorship, and Monica immediately said yes. But that would not have happened had I not picked up the phone, had I not been confident enough. And at that time, I was living and working in DC, and she was based out of Baltimore. That was an hour trip. Right? But I made it happen. The opportunity presented itself for me to come to Baltimore for an event, actually. So I got to see her in person, really meet her and enjoy her energy. I also met one of my current mentors that same day, Courtney DeRamus. And these are the same women who Courtney, she used to partner with Tracy Horn with Wells Fargo at Work.
Okay, I thought yes.
Including Miss Tracy. Literally,
love Tracy. Big ups to Tracy.
Women carried me throughout my career. Like I can name at least 2 positions that had these women not been in my life, I might not have wouldn't gotten, right? So them making phone calls, them being an advocate and sponsor for me, but also me being open and willing to say, hey, this is what I'm interested in. Hey, this is also what I have to offer. It's not trying to soak from you. It's also, hey, I'm trying to put in the work.
And that's what the relationship is. It is a mutuality of exchange. And a lot of people want to look at it like I've had people I've worked with, especially Black women, well, a couple of Black women, say things like, "Nobody would ever help me. Nobody would do that. People don't do that." And one of them in particular recently I was talking about, I was like, "I'm sorry that that's the world you come from." Like, and one of the things I saw was like, I don't know who you know, but fuck all your friends. I'm gonna show you mine. I'm bringing you. Oh damn, I cursed, didn't I? Sorry. Okay, sorry. But I'm going to introduce you to my friends because my friend, you in the streets, like, and it's not like, oh well, wait a minute, is it who gonna be there? Am I gonna be able to get a contract or all right, it's like no, who needs help? Let's put in help. And then, and that's kind of the communities that we come from. Like, it's love, that the commodity is love, the relationship. That is what we sell. It's like, how many times have we been places and somebody, your money ain't good here because your relationship is more valuable than any dollar you put in plate.
Absolutely.
So what happens next? So the alien's like, oh wow, this has been a lot to digest. No, that's a computer, that's a robot. Sorry. I don't know what alien said. So now the alien so you move back and it's like, okay, so what has been some of the things in your experience as a Black woman that you would consider success?
Honestly, the number one part, and I hope it's not too cliche, right? Me being able to show up as my true authentic self and do what I want to do every single day. For me, that is success, baby, because for so long I was not able to do that. I was not able to operate as my full self, to show up as my authentic self. But then to also show up and do what I do every day within my business for the people that I want to do it for. That's success for me. Before the millions come, that is still an avenue of success for me. Because one, I'm able to wake up every day. I don't have to figure out who do I need to be today. Do I have to worry about code switching today?
Right.
Who's going to be in the office? I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. That is a level of success for me, especially because there are so many people, not even just women, but there are so many people who cannot do that. My ability to create, to be creative, right, and have unlimited access to my own creativity. There are some people who have been not just silenced verbally, right, but their creativity has also been silenced in the workplace, their ideas being thrown in the trash just because of who they are and who they show up as with these ideas, right? That is success for me. But also me being able to be a pillar in my community, specifically within the financial space, with a specific focus on helping Black families unlearn some things so that we can relearn some positive things, right? To really change how we show up economically in the world as a community in general. That's success for me, baby, because it's a lot of people out there who look like me in the financial services industry that are not okay with taking care of our people, that are not okay with educating our people.
They are people to be exploited.
Correct. They are, absolutely. And for me, being able to do this in that way, that is success for me. But also another measure of success is my ability to love who I want to love. Because I know so many people who can't. So many people who are still in the closet because they're not accepted at home. They're not accepted in the workplace. They're not accepted in their communities. I don't take who I am, my journey, the things that I have overcome for granted at all, because there are still so many people struggling with those very things. But for me, those are measurements of success because I know how hard I worked to get there in every avenue that I just named. But also my ability to take care of the whole me, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. My ability to understand that these areas of my life drive and make up who I am as that whole woman, and to have the time and the space and the freedom to be very intentional about nurturing each of those areas in my life. Definitely. I have two of those.
Okay.
And they both happened within the same month, right? So
Wow.
back in October of 2020, literally still recent, right? So this version of me that you guys are getting, this is a new me. This is
It's
an
brand new.
evolved me, right? And it happened after October 2020. I was laid off from my job. You know, branches were closing, the banks were merging. And for me, that took a hit at my pride, first of all, but it also destroyed who I was mentally, professionally, because I had my identity was to my job. Me and my job, like if you knew me, then you know my job.
Yes, yes.
The companies that I worked for were everything. And I feel like I had made them somewhat of a god in my life. And one that wasn't healthy for me because I didn't have personal balance during those times at all.
Right.
I was not taking care of myself. But to get back on track, one, losing my job, it changed my life forever because it also showed me how dispensable I was to a company. Right? It showed me that no matter how much work I did, no matter how much business I brought in, if there were budget cuts, I'm just a name and a number on a piece of paper. I lost my job actually on her birthday, and I lost her 2 weeks later. So that was a life changing for me. She was my last living grandmother, and she was the only grandmother that I kind of really grew up around and knew. I lost my first grandmother at the age of 3, and I don't really have a lot of memories of her. So losing my grandmother, it changed my life, and in a very interesting way because this particular grandma, I love her to death, right? And it was not at any fault of her own. But as I got older, I started to learn that grandma didn't necessarily agree with my sexual preferences, right? And it wasn't a conversation that she and I had. It was conversations between her and other family members, not necessarily about me, but
Right.
about other cousins, you know, first cousins, her other granddaughters, right? And to start, you know, when you're young, you stay in a child's place. You don't hear what's really going on within the family drama, right? You don't got older. And it was after grandma passed that more people in the family started to open up and to speak about certain things. And I learned of grandma's position when it came to that. And it was a little unsettling for me. But also really building relationships with older cousins who identified the same as I and having real conversations, learning how grandma felt. And it made me think, well, I wonder how grandma would have felt had we had a conversation about it. Did she really know about me or did she not know? Like that caused so much confusion in my head, but it also caused me to really push the envelope with my family. Like even with my dad, like it's something that we don't talk about. It's a don't ask, don't tell really situation. Like he might talk to my mom about it, and then I talk to my mom. It's, you know, she's kind of that
the in between, yeah.
Correct. But it made me push the envelope because I'm just like, y'all love on me any other time. Don't let who I choose to love change how y'all feel about me. And once I learned that there was a particular cousin in my family who was almost pretty much disowned by my grandma, it really made me say, you know what? Bump this. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to show up. Either you get with the program and be a part of my life or you don't, and I'm going to be okay either way.
Them giving you the answer, like, okay, Black lady, this is how you work it through. Like, how do you know how to love yourself if you've only experienced exploitation? Like, if everybody's love has been part of the contingent of you giving, if that has been the measure of who you are, how do you even know how to love you?
That's a great question. And for me, it took solitude. It took me not no longer being in a romantic relationship. It took me separating from certain friendships, unplugging to really spend time with me because I'll be honest, I did not know myself. I did not know and understand these things because I had attached myself to when I was with my parents, I was automatically attached to them. When I was at the company, I was attached to the company, right? I spent more time invested in the company than in myself. And that relationship, you are invested in that other person and making them happy. It was when I actually took time for self. I had to spend months in solitude, me literally just focusing on me, unplugging, not being as concerned about everybody else that's around me because I learned that I needed me when I realized that I didn't have much, and I didn't have anybody else trying to fill the gap of what I didn't have. That empty cup that I had to learn how to pour into that empty cup. And once I realized that I had to do it on my own, and I didn't have a lot of people around me to do that in those spaces, I became more selfish about my cup, because I'm like, listen, I worked hard for this cup, baby. I can only. So no, truly, in all seriousness, I have so much to say. I have so much to give, and I have a burning desire to truly create an impact in our community. And the best way for people to support me is to, one, support my business, so that, one, I can take care of myself, support myself, my livelihood, but also, two, so that I can continue doing this work unapologetically. Share my stuff, right? It does not cost you anything to hit like, comment, share, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, right? Even if it's not something that you're interested in, think about somebody else. It could be a family member, it could be a community member, it could be a fellow peer in business, right? There is something that I have to say, that I have to offer, that can support somebody around you. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. I know that people enjoy hearing me. I know that my clients enjoy working with me, but we have to do more, right? We have to reach beyond, and to make sure that we're exposing others. So to support me, you can go to my website at www.kingdomvisionconsults.com. You can also follow me personally on Instagram at LPO The Real Deal. You can follow the business at Kingdom Vision Consult on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You can also follow the radio show at The Real Deal Radio Show on Instagram. And be open to growing and evolving within your financial journey. One thing that I want our people to understand is that we put limits on ourselves based on other people's perspectives, based on what you feel like you can or cannot do, still because of what somebody else told you. There are no limits. COVID has showed us one thing, is that you literally have one life to live, and you have to do it for yourself. Even when failures come, even when you face trials, you need to bet on you. I'm betting on me, and I'm just asking y'all to support me while I'm betting on me.
Look at you killing the game and all that.